Education is the heart and soul of the Sam Villa brand as we stand before you for the love of education.
Whether it's through live education or maybe through social media, we're always trying to make a personal connection with you, the learner.
Our contributions in education will be our legacy in this age.
At Sam Villa, our smile is our logo, and our personality is our business card. And how you feel when you walk away after an educational experience is our trademark.
The heart of Sam Villa is education. Join our journey, my friends, and we will change your life behind the chair.
Happy holidays to you all. Welcome to Mannequin Monday. A couple things before we get started into education. We do have one last opportunity for you to have some super big savings. Today only, we have 40% off site-wide. So if you missed anything last week through all the awesome sales, just know that you still have one more day that you can jump on samvia.com, get yourself some huge savings. And of course, if you are interested in bringing the Sam Villa team into your salon live and hands-on, you can head to samvia.com and I've got the wrong slide up. Oh my gosh. So samvia.com/education. So again, if you're looking for live hands-on education, you can head to samvia.com/education. Hey, we all have our days, right? And the slide that we did have up, if you are interested in earning some money by using Sam Villa tools, and you are a Sam Villa fan, you can also head to samvia.com to learn more about the affiliate program. You can earn a 20% commission, and your friends receive an additional 10% discount when they use your code. The cool thing about that code is it's an additional discount on top of the already discounted prices. So the 40% off sale today, if they use your affiliate code, they get an additional 10% off that. Super cool, right? So today we have one of your favorites. You guys, if you've followed Sam Villa Education, you know Ellen well at this point. We have Devine. Ellen is an amazing hairdresser, Sam Villa ArTeam Member. She has been in the trade show circuit, teaching classes and workshops around the nation for years. And she has a traditional style, but with a little twist. And I think you're going to really feel her passion for education as she shares with you today. So in the chat, let's all welcome the awesome Ellen Devine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm super stoked. Thanks, Andrew. You know, it's funny. I have those days too. I'm in the salon, and if I drop the comb once, I know I'm going to drop it like 5 more times.
Oh, totally.
All right, guys. I saw that we have a bunch of you tuning in from all over. I saw San Diego, Belize, Puerto Rico, Atlanta. Thanks for joining. We're going to go over a bob today. So I like to say timeless. As Andrew said, I enjoy doing hair that's traditional with a little twist. So we're going to just focus on getting a nice little smooth, almost a little bit of graduation there, but we're just getting a nice smooth bob that we're going to work on with a little bit of disconnection. So we want to talk through basically the steps to perfecting your bobs. That's what I want to focus on today. So what I would love for you guys to do is share in the comments, what are some things that you struggle with when cutting a one-length bob or adding texture in bobs? I'd love to answer any questions, but I want to get right into hair. So I want to show you, I sectioned this mannequin. I pre-sectioned it. We have one side complete. I'm going to show you one side today. And you're going to notice that I have a bunch of clips in the hair. The first section I took is from that high point of the head to almost like right behind the ear right here. So I'm just following the shape of the head, and then I put the clips in vertically, as well as in the back. I'm finding those corners. So I just want to show you a really great benchmark. When we look at the head shape, I obviously like to have clean sections. I find that that's the best thing when I'm cutting a bob haircut or any haircut. So when you look at this mannequin, you can see I'm working on a round surface. So all of my lines are going with the shape of the head, which is round. Now I want to focus on this corner back area. Right here is a center part. And then right above the ear is my other part. That would be your quadrant. Right in the middle here, you can see I have a line right between that quadrant. And so how we find that is typically, I'll hold the mannequin this way, where this corner is, I like to put my hands to find where that corner is going to be. You can find it in the front, you can find it in the back. So we're going with the shape of the head. And an easy way for me to remember is if I have a quadrant in the back, I'm basically splitting it in half. We just want to find how that head shape works. Okay, so now why we do that is because I like to refer back to almost as if you're getting a jacket or a dress and you buy it off the rack. It fits okay. But if I went and got it tailored and I took it to a tailor and they sized it to fit me perfectly, it's going to fit like a glove. It's going to look really great, and it's going to be the best I'd probably look because it's made for me. That's truly how hair cutting is. We want to make sure that we're detailing and we're really altering the haircut to suit our guest with their face shape, which makes them comfortable, anything that we're doing. And it really goes off of the shape of the head. So love that you guys are joining. I'm seeing some struggles. My struggles are keeping their head down. The eye contact is real. I know, especially at the shampoo bowl, right? You're like, just relax. Yeah, you know what? That's an interesting point because in this haircut, I'm going to be doing a lot of keeping the head upright. So we all do things just a little bit differently, and I'll talk you through why I do that. But I want to show you my first section right here. So in the top half, I have found my little corners, right? I lay my hand on the back, my hand on the side where my two fingers touch. Boom, that's my section right there. Now, this nape area, I'm going to detach a little bit. So I want you to notice I took a horizontal section, but it zigzagged. Easy enough. I just went through and just laid my comb on the surface, zigzagged, pre-sectioned it for speed for you guys. But if you are doing this, you want to make sure that you're clipping all the rest of the hair up and out of the way so you can really see that we get those zigzag sections. Now, we're going to detach this, and I want the hair to have a little graduation, but really in a modern spin. And the way I'm going to do that is by utilizing some undercutting, and we'll have the hair lay on top. So it's not necessarily a stacked bob or a graduated bob where you see the layers, as much as getting kind of a little bit of volume down here in the nape that's going to go round. The hair sits on top. It's beautiful. So I'm going to get all this hair out of the way using my dry sectioning clips. And I'm going to go right to this nape area. Let me grab a different comb. All right. So we're going to get right here and going based off of where my section is, right? So here's my section. I'm just going to go straight down vertically, pick up that exact sectioning. Let me clean it up for you guys a bit here. When working with dry hair, there's a couple things that I want to point out. One, why am I working with dry hair? If you have any guesses, put it in the comments. But when working with dry hair, I want to make sure I'm doing nice, clean sections because it's really easy for hair to fall in the cracks and kind of drop down and cut things on accident. So let's see. Am I supposed to imagine the hair wet or would you do this hair dry? That's a great question, Melissa. So I do it both ways. I'll show you why I'm going to do this dry today. I'm going to be working with one of my favorite tools. Let me get all the frames so we can see here. Working on my focus. All right, Ellen, struggle bus is real, but I'll get it closer. I'll get it worked out. So we got our 14 tooth point cutting shears. I'm working on my focus here, but it's not doing well with me. So my 14 tooth point cutting shears, they're going to give me a lot of texture. And if I was doing that wet, I might have a little bit more of an unpredictable outcome. But when I'm using texturizing shears, one, I'm doing that for a softer outcome, but I'm also using them dry. It's going to be much easier and more predictable to see. So I want you to see in this section, we just took that little slice, vertical slice. So I'm working in the back bevel here. And now I'm going to lock in my fingers horizontally and just float up. Now, when I determined my guideline before, I laid my hands against the head, as you can see from the side here. And then here's my guide from the previous section. So we'll try and get as close as possible. You can see my guide and my fingers there. Now, because I'm using my texturizing shears, I'm going to have to go back and forth. Now, why I'm using my texturizing shears versus just a blunt shear is I'm going to get a little bit softer of an edge when I drop this. So two things that are happening. The zigzag line is giving me extra kind of dimension in the cut, but also a degree of softness. And then I'm also the tool choice. So the 14 tooth point cutting shears, I'm knocking the hair off with that. Once I complete this little bevel, if you will, I'm just going to move to the next side. Now I'm going to do this one from the side so you guys can see. Clip this hair out of the way. So when you're cutting hair dry versus wet, think about hair wet, it all gathers together. When the hair is dry, it's truly living in its natural form. I'm keeping the hair in its natural fall so I can see what the hair is going to do. If someone's got really thick hair, maybe I would attack this wet if it's easier to control. I think it's really important to do what you know is easy for you to control the hair and have a hang on it. But when the hair is dry, you're going to get a little bit more texture out of it. I like to see it because I can see what's going on. Okay, so now we're moving to the opposite the next section, not opposite. So we just completed our little section in the back. Now I'm jumping just to the left here. And notice my body is right in front of it. So I'm putting my body right in front of it. My fingers are locking in horizontal, and I'm just going to float up to my guideline. You're not going to have an exact guide here because it is obviously being done with texturizing shears. So I'm hitting it different lengths, going left to right. That's how I'm able to knock hair off. Now, I love using these to do whole haircuts. I'm actually going to do the whole haircut with it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say you don't have to put work in, okay? I got to do a couple little chomps there. And that's just because of the teeth. They're wider. They're pushed apart more. Sorry, more gaps between is what I should say. But what's really unique about these is this blade, the cutting blunt blade, is actually polished. So what does the cutting is the teeth. So you're going to get a really unique kind of softness to that line that you're cutting. And I really, really love these. So you can use them just to texturize, or you can use them to do whole haircuts. So I'm showing you today an entire haircut with these. So next question I see, let's see, I saw, did you establish a guideline length with the texture shears? I absolutely did. And really, here's how I know. I knew because of our consultation, I knew where I wanted to take my perimeter. So knowing that I was going to take the perimeter about mid-neck right there, if I don't go short enough on this and say I float up too high, by the time I drop it, you're not going to have as much, I would say like layering down there, because if it's longer, I'll have just more length everywhere. So I knew I wanted it to go short enough. I did establish them with my texture shears. That's why I like to say it's not necessarily a guideline. It's just the line that we've put in. So a reference point, if you will. So now let's go to our little perimeter here. Now, you're going to have a tail when you do this. And all I'm going to do now is just stay within this bevel that we talked about. So here's why we do that. If I lay the comb right here, you're going to see a flat spot on the head. Now, if I lay the comb on the side or in that quadrant, you can see how the comb rocks, right? So comb rocks because you have two flat spots on that head. I'm staying within that flat spot because that's where the hair naturally lives. So I'm keeping the hair in its natural fall position. Now I'm taking my comb, I'm letting it just lay against the neck there, and now I'm going to cut my perimeter. So let's get nice and tight here. I'm standing off to the side so y'all can see, but I would prefer in the salon if your body's right in front of that section. So let's see if we can get this nice and even, standing off to the side. I'm going to put that blunt blade just against the skin. And notice how I'm just rocking back and forth. Now, it's not going to give me a perfect blunt line because I'm looking for texture in there. And that's good. Now, when I'm moving to the next bevel, here's that flat spot again. Okay, so back flat spot, rock it, side flat spot. This is all in the back quadrant. So it's the corner back of the head. I'm going to take my comb, lightly drag it down, and just like so, knock that off. Now, if you don't want to use the point cutting shears for this, you can absolutely love, or I absolutely love is going to say, you can absolutely use a different texturizing shear. I love the reversible blending shear, which has a lot more teeth and cuts a little bit blunter of a line, if you will. That takes hair off very, very quickly. So you can definitely use it up to your discretion. Now, we've got our little graduation, hidden graduation happening. So you can kind of see on the opposite side. If I have some hairs, I'll get that with my blunt shear. I keep those handy too, but I'm going to just get right in front of it and just even this out a bit. Now, the next thing we're going to do is just jump to the top half of this section, or I should say top section. All right, so we're dropping this back little bevel here. And now we're going to actually just start establishing that perimeter. I'll add a little layering in and jazz it up a little bit, but I like to go one step at a time. So we're going to go back to this flat spot we talked about. Okay, right there at the back of the head. So you can do this all in one shot if you want. What I'm going to do is just subdivide. Section size is also super important. You want to remember what we are looking to do. Like, do we have a guest with really, really thick hair? Do we have a guest with really fine hair or thin hair, should I say? What's the density? If I have someone with really, really thick hair, I know that we want to take smaller sections that we can see through a little bit better. But since this mannequin has, I'd say like a medium amount of density, we're just going to split it in half and do 2 sections. And I'm using my comb to hold this. So this is a great point to a question I saw earlier was, I can't, or not a question, a statement. I can't keep people to get their head down. Here's why I like to have someone's head up sometimes. It changes. I change how I do it depending on the guest. Now that you know how you like get to know people behind the chair. If I have someone that moves a lot or tends to talk a lot, I prefer their head straight up, straight ahead, and I'll use my fingers so I can really lock in that guideline that I'm trying to place. But you're more than welcome to have them put their head down. I just find that some people do better keeping their head upright and straight, and I have less discrepancies to kind of have some mishaps happen because when they're moving around. If that makes sense, give me a like in the comments. Okay, so we're going to just split this in half, get nice and close. And I'm just going to take my guideline essentially from this opposite section there. I'm staying within that bevel back there, and I'm going to insert my texturizing shears, and I'm going to go left to right. And I'll get some long pieces and some short pieces that aren't perfectly straight, and that's okay, because when I'm done, I'm going to go through with my blunt shear and just get any little loose hairs that are missing. And I'm also going to go through and style it out. So on the opposite side that's done, I've taken a little bit of round brush to it, just to bevel under those ends. And on the side I'm working on now, the left side, that was flat iron. So it's straightened a little bit. So a little different. What's up, Andrew?
Got a couple questions. You actually kind of addressed this. Colleen was asking, would this work for all hair types?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to know what type of hair you're working on. Let's see, Colleen. All hair types, like if you're doing finer hair and you want to do a little disconnection, because think about it. What's the point of disconnection? It's to make the hair dance a bit. I like to do it on thick hair to collapse weight, to get rid of weight, but you can do it on fine hair if you just want the hair to move and dance. I would just lower my section. So with that zigzag section, if someone has fine hair, most people carry the density in the back, I find, Andrew. And I like to get my zigzag section rather than right at the occipital bone, maybe a little lower. Maybe I take the zigzags a little shallower and not as many peaks and valleys. So hope that helps, Colleen.
That's awesome. And then Rachel had asked, do you discuss the disconnection aspect with your client every time?
Oh, that's a great question. Absolutely, I do. So I like to tell my guest why I'm disconnecting and the benefit of it for them. Now, sometimes I find that if someone's like, you can do whatever you want, and I know that their hair is like a perfect fit for a disconnected cut, I show them the exact section I'm going to do, and I tell them why. Okay, so Rachel, why do we want to do this? Well, we're going to disconnect the hair today because you told me you don't want a stacked bob, but you kind of want to see it beveled under in the back, but she doesn't want a lot of top layers. So let's give you disconnection on the bottom to give that collapsing of weight, round out the back a bit, and we'll do very soft, subtle layers on top. Easy as that. If they're nervous about going super short underneath, then I stay longer with it and I let them get used to it. And then the next time I'm there or next time they come in, then we talk about going a little shorter. And I guarantee almost every time I've done this on someone and they really, really like it, they're like, take it as short as you want. So I think it's a great question. I also think it's super important to communicate with our guests what we're doing. Even the people that say you can do whatever you want, I still like to tell them why I'm doing what. So I think it's a really great question. Okay, so we just finished that back section. You can already see we're getting a little bit of roundness to it. So we're getting a little bit of shape happening. Now we're going to jump to our next bevel. So once again, let's show this flat spot. Here was our previous flat spot right here. Now, if we rock the comb, there's another flat spot right there. So get nice and tight. This is the one right behind the ear. I like to take it behind the ear so my comb fits nice. And then this will be its own two sections as we get to the front. Same thing here. It's a good amount of hair, so I'm just going to split that in half. And I'm always going to clip away the hair I'm not working with. Even if the hair is wet and it can push to the side easily, I'm always putting a clip in it to make sure it's nice and tidy. All right. So always making sure it's nice and tidy. I'm going to float down to my guideline and we're just cutting it square. So I'm not putting an angle on it. We're doing a nice square cut here. I'm going to lay my comb against the head. If you want to use your hands, you can. You can hold the hair between the fingers all you like. I find this to be pretty easy when I've already established my guidelines. I'm using texturizing shears, whatever works for you. But if you feel a lot more comfortable holding the hair in your hands, totally can do that as well. What happens is when the hair is not short already underneath, you tend to add a little graduation when you do that. So you'll just have to go on underneath at the end and just clean it up a little bit. It's the only difference. So I saw, can you do this haircut on wavy curly hair? Yeah, I would definitely see if it's what type of curl is it? Is it super curly? Is it kinky? I would definitely shift some things if it's super curly hair and just know why I'm doing it and what. I tend to really like to layer curly hair a lot because getting volume, getting those curls to pop and to avoid kind of that triangular shape. So if I'm doing it on wavy curly hair, I would definitely want to take that pretty short in the underneath. So then all that other hair can float on top of it. Hope that helps. So now let's go to our next section. I'm going to get this front section really out of my way here. And just going to take that cutting comb. My body position is right in front of that section. And I'm just going to get nice and tight so you guys can see here. Oh, there we are. Okay, so once again, in the salon, I would want to be right in front of my section. Here, I'm off to the side so y'all can see. And I'm just really chewing across the ends, going left to right. You can see I get a nice blunt line still, but with lots of texture goodness in there. Anytime I have some of these long hairs, what I found I tend to do is just go in diagonally and just kind of bite at the ends a little bit to knock those off. All right, so we're looking good. Now I'm going to add just a bit of length in the front till I detail and work it out. So it's not a completely one length cut. It is going to get gradually a little longer in front. Very subtle angle. Now this is something that I like to do with guests, especially when they want, I'd say like a one length bob. A lot of times if you just go completely square, it can be like a shock to the system. I think not many people are used to seeing a completely square bob on their face shape. So what I like to do is give a little grace with it. And I usually will say, how do we feel about a subtle angle to it? The reason I do that is if I'm putting a little subtleness of a diagonal line, that's going to soften and sort of round the shape a bit, and it would suit their face shape. It's things that you need to watch for face shapes too with bobs. before I get into that, I just want to show you my next section here. So because this is a very wide section, that's going to be pretty hard to cut all at once. Same thing as the back, you can find the corner of the head in the front. So where the two spots touch in front, that would be the corner. Same thing as when you cut a fringe. So just right here where that corner of the eye is, you can tell there's a shift. There is a shift happening on the head shape right there. Let me grab this comb. So you can see that there's a flat spot and there's a flat spot. So right where that corner of the eye is, that's going to be the next section. We're not cutting it different. It's just too wide to cut at once. Okay, so let's section that out. Just for control. So things with bobs to remember, clean sections. Clean sections mean control of your section, especially when you're cutting dry. Okay, so let's go back to face shape. So I don't know, thinking about assessing a face shape, if someone has an extremely square jawline and they come in and they want a square bob, but they don't want to accentuate their jawline, you might want to consider talking to them about putting a little bit of an angle on it. That's what's going to soften that face shape. And I guarantee they're going to want to keep that angle. So typically what we like to do is leave a little bit of an angle. And then at the end, talk to them and see, okay, are we liking this? Or do you still want to go forward cutting that off? It's sort of just an insurance policy. All right, so here we are now. We're going to go back to our bevel in the front here. So we have our section behind the ear, and then we have this front section. Now, I'm going to leave it quite a bit longer, and I'll find that once I start cutting it out, I'm going to detail and shorten it with my blunt shears as well. So I'm just going to take my comb, and I'm going to put a diagonal angle on it here. I'm going to get this hair just off to the side. All right, guys. Looks like she's tilting down, but listen, I'm staying in Utah right now. I used to work out in Utah, and I come out here every 6 weeks and work to take clients. So I'm in a good old Airbnb, and it's awesome. However, it's a little cushy. There's some fun little slopes in this house. So I'm working with what I got. And that's funny because we're talking about keeping the head right. So I actually shifted the head to be a little off so that it was even on the floor, if that makes sense. So definitely want to keep it centered, even. This is not angled. It's just even right now. This is a little bit thicker of a section. So I'm going to work up in probably about three sections. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'm still going to use my guideline, my reference point, but sometimes I like to just go slightly beyond it just so I can get some extra texture in there. And I know that I'm going to layer this a bit, give it a little bit more something, something. So notice how I'm just hitting the back side first. And you can see all that nice little detail work that we're getting there from that 14 tooth point cutting shear. And now I'm just going to continue that through. And I'm doing that because, once again, it's just too wide of a section. Awesome. And then we will release and do that final section. All right. If you guys have any other questions on bobs, please type them in. Love to see. What I love about doing this cut, how I cut this, it really changed my career in cutting bobs. Following the head shape was the biggest learning I've ever had as a hairdresser, because nothing wrong with going in the back, going in the back, doing a triangle, laying it against the skin. I would do that all the time, but I tend to have one side longer than the other, or I just lost my way sometimes. So what's cool about finding where the head changes directions and working within those little bevels is if there's a hiccup somewhere, I know exactly where to go, because I can just resection it out and say, okay, where do I see something funky? Where is it laying funky? And I'm just going to continue through. So those are things that really, really assisted me with bobs. Other thing too, I mean, we're talking a lot about communication with guests, but I think that's just the most important thing. Telling them where it's going to sit, really making sure where they want it to sit on their face shape. And if you're cutting it dry, you want to prep the hair, right? So I'm not going to let them come in dry and just cut their hair how they came in. If I know I'm doing a dry cut, I'm going to shampoo them, style them, and really give them a sleek start so I can see how the hair wants to naturally live, right? So let's move to this front. Now, what I can do when I get to the front section, if we want to grab this piece in the front, and we can just cut a little bit of a reference point right there, and that can be our guide for the front. So go in front, and we're just going to create our little reference point right in front. And I am holding that one with my fingers. Okay, now we'll jump back to that side, and we're just connecting the dots. So that's what makes this so easy. We have a reference point in front, we have one there, and we're just going to connect the dots now. Let's see, I saw my client asked me for a square line, and I never got it right. You know what? Maybe next time. I think this is really important, actually, because sometimes our guests ask for us for something, and we're not sure what's happening. I feel like questions are how we get to that answer. So next time that happens, maybe their name's Sally. Say, Sally, what's a square line to you? You know, what's that mean? And really dig into the thinking of someone. It's the same thing as hair color. I find, like just the other day, I had a guest come in wanting red hair. And we talked about what red meant to them, because really red to someone is different than red to another. Sometimes red to me can mean like Ronald McDonald red, if that makes sense, or a very vivid bright red. And funny enough, red to them was more of a copper kind of tone. So how do we get to our end result? We ask the right questions that kind of lead there. So it's like, it's really a crappy feeling when you have someone be like, oh, that's not right. This is never right. So how can we make it right? What can we do? And what questions can we ask to get to the end result that they are looking for? And honestly, it's really surprising how many people will be like, wow, I can't believe you took the time to figure that out. And just give them a little extra special attention. And I bet you can find a middle ground that y'all are looking for. So yeah, awesome. So I love the agreeable comments in there. Okay, so here we are. We have our bob shape going. You can see one side slightly curves in more. The other's a little bit fuller. Now this fuller side is the one we just cut. We're going to work through doing a little bit of soft layering. Really all I'm doing is cutting the corner off the top. So we're going to pop back in the same sections that we just cut in. So you can see me section for that. Let's lower that guide. So now we just want to find where the top of the head is, and that's what we're going to base that all off of. So standing right in front of my guest for now, placing that comb on the top of the head. Easiest way to find where the head separates is literally to balance the comb. We're looking for that highest point of the head. So right where it lays flat, we're going to take that, a vertical line. It should land right behind the ear or right at the ear. Once again, it's like measuring your guest's head. So we just want to measure and see where it wants to go. My body position for the best line is going to be right in front of my section. And it should be right about there. Now I'll take all that hair in front. Some of the short stuff might fall out. I'm going to take my dry sectioning clip, right? So I love these because they have that little band in there that keep from greasing. And just going to go up vertically and taut against the head just to keep a nice clean section. Okay, same thing here. So let's go back to how we found those corners. This is how we cut the perimeter as well as the underneath, and it's how we're going to cut the layers as well. So we're going to lay our comb flat on the back and then my hand or another comb flat on the side. All right, you can see that there are two fingers touching there. Let me just tilt back here. I want you to see the corner because this is really what helped so much in my cutting. Okay, get it as straight as possible. There's a corner and there's one. See right where my finger touches that comb? That's where that head shape starts to change direction. That is where our vertical line will be from that crown. And we'll just take it to the nape, but we're really only going to focus on the long stuff on top. Okay, Erica, put your head back up. Oh, wait, this is Lydia, our Lydia mannequin. Shout out to Pivot Point. They're our favorite mannequins to work with. This is the Sam Villa Lydia mannequin. It has a really good amount of hair. So if you guys want to ever practice, I would totally recommend grabbing a mannequin. And these come long and they have a good amount of hair. So you can get like 5 cuts out of these, I find. Do a long layer cut, work on some razor work, whatever you want to do, and just keep taking it as short as possible. Because remember, it takes, 10,000 hours to be a master at something. So the more you practice, the more you'll master it. All right, so we're going to lower. And now we're going to switch to our lovely little swivel shear that I've been obsessed with lately. Let me grab that. Okay, so I don't know how many of y'all use swivel shears. I honestly just recently started. For a long time, I just didn't understand. I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. And I find the best way is to just let your hand move with the shear. So I love it for when I'm detailing because I can just rotate and take that pressure off my wrist. So been loving these. These are our signature series swivel shear. Believe this is the 6-inch that I'm using today. Okay, so I'm going to be reaching up a bit. I just want to talk body position because I think it's the most important thing. So when we're behind the chair, if I'm working this high, it's going to be a problem all day. I just want you all to know I'm doing this for you. So best place is heart level to work. So lower that guest heart level. I'm going to stay a little bit high just so y'all can see what's happening in camera's view. But what I want to talk about is the points of reference on the head. So let's talk about how we know where to graduate and where. So let's grab our little benchmark. All right. Going back to our little sections that we have, once again, this is that center part in the middle. And then we have our corners on the right side and also the left side. And you can see from the top, we have all these almost spirals. So these are called the points of reference. So right here, we have that ear. So we'll call that the top of the ear. And then right behind it is in the back of the head on the corner. So we call it corner back, right? So that's the corner back. These are the areas as well as, the points of reference. And this is center back, center front. So super important because this is where we're going to over direct to. I don't know how many of you guys have ever done a bob. You know that you're going to over direct the hair to give longness in the front or length in the front, shorter in the back, and you just kind of grab the hair and don't know where you're going with it. This is your roadmap. It's the complete guide to get from point A to point B. So I know I want to over direct the hair. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to talk it through and then show you how it's done. We'll start in center back. This entire bevel is going to be over directed to the center back of the head. So I'm taking this entire section over directed to the center back. Then I'm going to move to the corner back right behind the ear. And I'm taking this whole section and I'm over directing everything to the corner back right there. So I'm taking the back to center back right there. And then right in front of it, taking the next section to corner back. Now when we get to the front, next one would be front section over directed to the top of the ear. And when you get to this area, same thing, you're just going to over direct it to this corner in the front. So to corner front. So I hope this helps. Now let's show you live. I did cut a guide or a reference point earlier when we did this cut. And all I did to find that is I wanted to focus on getting just that corner weight line off. So I'll take my entire section. I'm going to show you how I grab it and then we'll spin so you can see. This entire bevel is going to go to the center back. So the best way to view over direction is typically from the front, from the top of the head. So also important to work at a good level so you can peek over and make sure your over direction is on point. But I'm just going to grab a little piece of my previous section. Let's make sure we're in view here. Let's lower just a bit. All right. I'm taking that entire bevel. All the short hair is going to fall out. So none of that's going to get cut. And then I'm going to peel back. You can see my guide is really just right around here. I took that corner off. And that is literally all we are going to do is just cut that corner off and I'm just doing point cuts for that. So doing some point cutting. Now, when you talk about over direction, the point of over direction is to get length and weight in that opposite direction. I'm doing it to the points of reference versus the previous section because one, I like doing condensed cutting. It's going to give me a fast, quick result. But two, it's going to give me just a medium amount of weight dispersed in the haircut. So if I were to take this entire section and pull it all the way to center back, it would be very heavy in the front and very short in the back. So just keep in mind, how much over direction do you want? If someone has really thick hair, very dense hair, and especially carry the weight in the front, I'm probably going to over direct to the previous section to get rid of some of that weight. If this is all making sense and sounding good, give some hearts, likes, say yes in the comments. And now let's move to our next bevel. So we just completed, I just clipped it all away, but we completed the center. And now we're just skipping to right behind the ear. This entire section is going to be over directed to corner back right there. So this whole thing over directed to corner back. And I'm just going to make sure we get a nice clear view, nice clean sections. Okay. I'm keeping it low so y'all can see as we elevate. You can take a little slice of the previous. Let me do that first. So a little tiny slice and then get everything else out of the way. Now elevate up just like those. So see how I'm just over directing it to that corner back there. So now let's go side so we can see. Now, when I elevate this, I'm staying at a diagonal elevation that's above this imaginary horizontal line. Now, the way I explain this, and this is the way I was taught that really helped click for me, is imagining that there's a horizontal line that runs against the room, which there is. It's the baseboards of your room. At the ceiling, you're going to have corners that connect everything. Throughout the whole world, we see vertical lines, horizontal lines, and diagonal lines, right? So when I was taught haircutting, a lot of the elevation that I was taught is in relation to the room. So when I say that we're elevating this hair above this horizontal 90-degree line, that's going to reduce weight up here and give me a softer line as if I took, instead of taking it straight out. If I took it straight out and cut, I would see a straight line in the silhouette. If I slightly elevate it up and I go diagonally, I know it's going to soften it and reduce weight. And that's the point of that. Okay, we'll drop the back and go to our final section here. And then after this, we'll do a little bit of texturizing and be good to go. All right, last couple sections. I'm going to pop back in that corner front section, which is right in front of the ear here. Not the ear, excuse me. It's right in front of the face. No ears on the face. And it's just a vertical line. I'm going to take a clip and get that out of the way, clipping it to the opposite side. All right, so now, same thing here. I'm just going to grab a slice from my previous section. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just want a little bit of guideline and clip the rest of the hair out of the way. Now this entire section will be over directed to the top of the ear. Okay, over direction to the top of the ear. And I'm elevating up diagonally. I'm going to find my little reference point. It's not too much. Really, all we're looking to do is take off this corner right here. So I'm just doing deep point cuts using my swivel shear. Nice and deep point cuts. I'm just going to make sure no hair fell. And this is also where you can start cutting in. If you see too much bulk somewhere, I already know I'll get bulk right here because there's so much hair in the front compared to the back. So you can start detailing that and point cut into that as well. What's up?
Shaquila has a great question. I want to know if you can point cut into fine hair.
Oh, yeah, that is a great question. Thank you. So yeah, you can absolutely point cut. In fact, like I love cutting blunt on fine hair if they want to see weight, they want to see some width in their haircut, but you can do point cutting into fine hair for sure. Maybe you don't want to go as deep. Once again, if it's fine, think about, is it fine or is it like, what's the density? Is it less dense? If it's fine, but they have a lot of hair, I absolutely do a lot of deep point cutting. But if it's fine and the density is a little weaker and there's not a lot of hair to work with, maybe I won't go as deep. I really think it depends on the look they're going for. But, you know, think about those people that have finer hair, but there's just a mass amount of it. Totally. Deep point cutting is actually going to help that, because their hair tends to show everything. And I feel like if you know, you know. You've like had those guests where you do your normal hair cutting and you're like, I don't understand why I still see a straight line. Some people with that texture hair, you just see everything. So if the density is less, yes, you can still point cut. You know, just maybe don't do as much point cutting. Does that make sense? You can still deep point cut all you want, but maybe try not to do a big amount of it, if that makes sense. I mean, here's the thing. There's no right or wrong in hair cutting. There's only action and consequence. So if you're a little nervous to do too deep of a point cut, or you read the hair and you know that it needs a little less, then maybe just go a little shallower with the point cutting, which would look something like this, just a little bit shallower. When I go deep point cutting like that, and I'm going diagonal with it, see how you can take chunks out. It also depends on how you're holding your shear. So if I go in diagonal, I'm going to cut a lot more off than if I go in vertical to that section or parallel to it. I can go deep, but go parallel, and it's more vertical to that section rather than diagonal, and cut less hair and still get a good amount of texture. So to sum it up in my long answer, yes, you can deep point cut. Just be aware of how you're holding your shear and where the weight is dispersed. So I hope that helps. All right, we are looking good. So before I do anything else, I want to just polish this out just a little bit. And we're going to use our Pro Light blow dryer for that, and our Artist Series Spiral Thermal Round Brush. Let me show you. This is my favorite round brush ever to exist. Okay. And we're going to use our blow dryer just to polish it. Just going to go on low so y'all can hear still. But all we want to do is just kind of bevel out those ends. So I'm going to once again raise her up so you can see. And we just want to put a little bevel on it, a little shine. So you're going to get tension from this because it has boar bristle and pin. I'm using my blow dryer on low and high heat. And I just want to polish around those ends and just tuck the ends in a bit. Notice my nozzle is not right on it. I'm just below the edge. And we just want to put, see that nice little roundness that you get to it? That is all we're looking for. And then I'm just going to work around the head doing that to polish it out. Tucking the ends under. Looking good. And then see, I can now see any little divots that I need to tweak in the haircut. Same thing here. Just going to keep the elevation of the round brush low, just so I'm focusing on beveling those ends and not necessarily getting volume at the top. Okay, last little piece. And you can use your flat iron if you want as well for this. I just find using a round brush and a blow dryer gives a little bit more of a natural polish. And obviously I'm going to get a little bit more bounce to the hair rather than using a flat iron to it. So this was previously flat ironed already. So I just want to shape it up and balance it out a bit. So we're looking good. All I want to get, and I want you guys to see what I see, because really what I really love about hair cutting is, I always tell people it's like sculpting. It's really artistry. And it's because you can kind of see what's working, what's not working as you go around. So I can tell I have a couple long bits, so I'll just shape that up and get that going. But I want to get any of these little funky long pieces. So in the salon, right now this mannequin's all the way up so I can see it at eye level. But in the salon, I use a cutting stool. So We use a little cutting stool so that you can sit, because being eye level with a bob is probably the most beneficial thing you could do, rather than when we bend over and try and look at it and turn our head and all that. It can really mess with how we view the haircut itself. So I want to get at eye level. And here's the swivel in action. This is what I love about the swivel. I can go through and just start detailing it. So see how my thumb just rolls with it. I love it. I'm obsessed, because I used to always cut myself with these until I really it's like you just have to relax. Take a deep breath and just let it flow. It's the best way I see someone say, yes, indeed. So just let it rock with it. And I don't know, if you guys haven't tried these and you have a friend that has a pair, try them out, test them out. Like Andrew said, we're doing 40% off. And then you can also sign up to be an affiliate. But what's awesome is you can also be an affiliate. You can use an affiliate code. Mine's LND10. You can get an extra 10% off of our sales. But you can also sign up to be an affiliate, and you can recommend brushes and blow dryers to your guests, and they can buy it directly from the site, and you can get some kickback from that. And I think it's awesome. So look into that as well. So see how I'm just, whoop, there it is. And I'm just taking that and just detailing it. I love it. It's so much easier than going in and breaking my wrist like this, which, believe me, I still do. It's a habit. I've been doing it for, I don't even know now, maybe 15 years. I'm not sure. It's been a while. It's been a while, which is crazy. I forget my age often. So going through and just detailing, fine tuning anything. And this is so important to do. If you had your guest look down, or even if you had them upright and you use your fingers, you still want to go through and check and make sure everything's looking nice and soft and blended before you let them walk out the door. In fact, I've been known to take my guests to the front, get ready to check them out, and go, oh gosh, I see a hair. I need you to come sit back down, and just detail it. But you know what? That's what makes you, and that's what makes your guests love you behind the chair, is that attention to detail that not everyone may give. So give them that, and I promise they will really, really appreciate all the time you take. So what I want you guys to see is the back's looking good, but there's like a very heavy panel in the front right there. And this is what I want to do now, is just cut in. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I see age is only a number. That's right. That's right. I feel like 21 still in my heart. So anyway, so what we want to do is we want to cut into this bottom where I see a lot of weight. And I think I'll go back to my 14 tooth point cutting shears for those. So I will simply just do what we typically do to texturize, is lift the hair. And I'm just going to go in. These are really made to look as if we point cut into the hair. So less work needed. And I'm just going to take some of that weight off and round it out. And it is as simple as that. So thinking about haircuts, I know it can be very overwhelming when we get a request for maybe someone cutting a big amount of hair off. Maybe the hair's long and they're going to a pixie. Maybe it's long and they're going into a bob. It can be very overwhelming. So think of it in steps. So step one, section the hair. How am I going to section the hair? So if you're ever lost, I would totally recommend sectioning that hair in that vertical breakdown that I showed you, just like this. So here's your opportunity to take a screenshot. This is vertical breakdown. You can see from the top. If you cut an entire bob where your finger is parallel to every bevel, you will get the perfect bob every time. So this is going to be the best way to start when doing a bob. So this is, someone said, what model scissors am I using right now? This is the Sam Villa 14 tooth point cutting shears, right? So what 1322, is that the model number on there? But it is the 14 tooth point cutting shears. Everything's 40% off right now today still. Check them out. They're really, really beautiful shears. So step one, section. Step two, have a game plan, right? When you're doing it, bite-sized pieces, meaning section by section. Notice I took that nape area first, got it done, got it finished, completed. Then I dropped the next top sections in the back and moved to the front. So I cut my perimeter, and then after that, it's fine-tuning, it's detailing. Do I want to add layers? Do I not? So I want to do all of that before I texturize. If you're cutting this wet, we want to make sure we're texturizing dry. You're just going to get a more predictable outcome, and it's going to take the right amount of hair off as well. So we have last couple sections. This side feels a little heavy. And what is really nice is it's just a repetitive motion, honestly, when you cut to those bevels. And it really, really, truly helps. So what we want to show, wrapping it up, timeless bob. Why a timeless bob? Because a shape of a bob is never going to go out of style. Bobs will always be in style. I think it truly just depends on how they're going to wear it. Do they want a little bit more stacking where you see the layers, where it's truly graduated? Or do you want to see all this kind of one length, but kind of frothy? You can make it stand up. You can get a little bit of lift. If they want more lift, you just texturize a little bit more. Easiest way to do it. So really simple way to cut a timeless bob and keep it nice and clean as you do it. I hope y'all got something out of today. I don't know. I'm loving it. I think it was a really good morning so far. So I hope you guys got something out of it. If you want to connect, my Instagram is Devine Hair. I'd love to answer any questions you have. And like I said, keep practicing, stay in tune, enjoy your holiday season, and we'll hand it back to Andrew.
Thank you, Ellen. Great class as always. Beautiful work as well. That would be a haircut that would definitely catch some eyes as it left the salon. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Awesome. And as Ellen mentioned, we are continuing that 40% off site-wide through tomorrow, actually. I originally said it was just today, but it is through tomorrow. So if you need tools, if you're interested in those 14-tooth point cutting shears that Ellen showed us, you can head to samvilla.com for 40% off site-wide. And if you'd like to bring education into your salon, you can head to samvilla.com/education for more information on how you can bring someone like Ellen right into your salon for hands-on education. And also, as Ellen mentioned, you can join the Sam Villa affiliate program. The great thing about this program is you earn 20% commission on everything that is sold with your affiliate code. And the people that are using your affiliate code, they get an additional 10% discount on top of whatever the discount is. So like we said, today is 40% off site-wide. If they use the affiliate code, they get an additional 10% off of that. So it's a really cool opportunity for you and for the people that use your code. So thank you all so much for watching today. We'll be back soon with more education. Take care.